Every day is different with my mum. She can have really good days and really bad days. On a bad day, I tend to do quite a lot for my mum. I help her walk, make her food, make her drinks. If she does have to go into hospital, I travel in the ambulance and I tell the paramedics what's wrong with her, what medication she takes. People always said that I was old before my time. I was a very old child. I was always tidying things up and everything like that, worrying about stuff that didn't need to be worried about. Even from a young age, I've known how to spell spina bifida, which some kids don't even know what that is, so...
My daughter is always looking for a tablet to help her, to make her feel better or more. I don't think she lives like a life, organised life, where you get up and have your breakfast and you cook your dinner and things. I don't think her life is like that. I can feel her pain at times. I get upset because when I can see what she's doing to herself, I find it very painful to watch. There we go. Thank you. And when somebody uses drugs, it's dangerous, so you're constantly on alert. You never fully relax because you don't know what's going to happen the next day, or you've always got it on your mind.
I do have a sense of anxiety when I go at school and leave her. I don't like doing it. And especially if she's at hospital, driving home from the hospital is the worst feeling. It is like, am I going to get a phone call? Is she going to sleep all right? Is she going to be fed all right? Because you hear these horror stories in the news and you can't help but worry.
We take photographs. I see if I've forgotten all who came. Yeah, that's a lovely one. You actually had a smile on.
The Fab Four. We were always on call, really. That duty of care never goes away. Besides the emotional side of it, you can't just say, well, we have the carers and we have nothing to do anymore. You still have to be there. So he's always, we could say, the center of our lives now, really.
Lovely. That's Harvey. He comes in like a Tasmanian devil. Yeah.
It's a 24-hour job. He doesn't sleep all the way through the night. Well, it, of course, affects the whole family. And when we first had a diagnosis, my husband really struggled with his employment because he didn't get a full night's sleep. Recently, we lost our home. My husband lost his job through the move. And just dealing with the daily stress on top of having to have a child that's got autism that doesn't like change was very unbearable. And hard, with no support. Sorry.
It was always there, the total responsibility from a small boy, fighting to get the benefits required for his needs was always an uphill battle. Certain things might have been there, but they were never told to us about them. The battle is always forthcoming, and the battle is a total battle all the time.
When I didn't realise what addiction was, it completely engulfed me. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't find an answer because of her appearance, and that I used to stay in, and because I worry what people think, I felt that I should do something about it. I should be able to stop that, and so I kind of, keep myself quiet and low profile. she'd get on the bus, and if she hadn't, you know, I used to feel, it made me really, really ill. Yeah.
You almost feel like Harvey's shadow, 24 hours a day, every day. Where does Faith fit in? That is the cruel part. That's, you know, that's the hard part. And the biggest part I suffer with as a carer is finding that time for the other children who suffer. They don't get what they need.
So how'd you get on to school today?
Yeah, not too bad. Coursework and more coursework.
More homework, I suppose?
Yeah. It can be quite difficult to juggle home life, school life and social life. I can have buckets of homework and my mum can be rushed into hospital and I won't have time for it all. And it's as simple as that. And I won't get to see my friends. I won't get the work done.
I think I'm really acting as his memory. So in a way, as a carer, you're doing everything twice over. You're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for the other person. So remembering his appointments, reminding him each day where we're going, and it has to be daily or just as we're about to go because he won't retain that information.
Right.
Do you want me to write it down?
If you, yeah.
Bay leaves and chard. Right, do you know where the chard is, or would you like me to come and show you where it is? The other aspect, I think, that is really the worst is the loss. That you never quite know the moment when a little bit of this person is going to have disappeared from you. So the day when, with the petrol, he suddenly said, "What do I do now?" when we went to the petrol pump. The day when he said, "I can't remember how to write a cheque." The day when he said, it's the one with the 2 boys, when he's talking about our son. And it's those things that make you desperately sad and you just don't want to hear them, and it hits you like a cold shower, really. You think, oh.
You've been sewing today? Yes, you have. You've been sewing for Christmas? Have you been making things for Christmas? She's such a happy child. I call her a child still. She always will be, although she's 41. She just loves life and just lives it. I mean, I am finding now, I guess I'm getting older and perhaps haven't got quite the patience that I did have. She's a little bit more challenging to look after. And I find myself, particularly evenings, getting a little bit stressed, I have to say, because she's still quite active. Lizzie, will you come and just sit down and chill out a bit, you know?
Physically, it's exhausting. It's very tiring. And because you always feel, to a degree, stressed, because you're always on the edge of the precipice. You never quite know what's going to happen next. You do live in a state of fairly high anxiety most of the time, even when you don't realise you are doing it.
We can't have the markers in the Radio Times. It has to all be outside. I put the markers in where the television programmes are and where the radio programmes are, but they all have to come out. Okay. Oh. Yeah, all right. I think you want it like that, do you? All right. She loves tidying up, but it's not always the sort of tidying up that you want her to do. She'll do things like putting dirty cutlery in the clean cutlery drawer and putting clean utensils in the sink and, you know, various things like that. If something is, in her view, out of place, then it's got to be picked up and put where she wants it put. So we have tiny little battles at times, but it's quite minor, really. When I compare our life with lives that other people have, you know, I realise how well off we are.
with addiction and what they do, I mean, she has stolen off of me, because I met her on the market square, and she was taking that base then, and she was actually pleading with me, "Mum, let me come home. Can I come home?" And I knew, I was frightened of her, for her to come home, that she would rob me. And I knew, and I thought, well, of her in my home, what she would do in my home, my flat here. I was so scared of her, but I knew I couldn't say yes to her. It's the addiction talking. It's not my daughter. It's horrendous addiction. It really is.
It took me several years to realise that I was a carer. I was Elizabeth's mother, and that was it. The fact that she happened to be born to our family, well, okay, that was how it was. And I'm quite sure there are a lot of people out there who don't recognise themselves as carers. Their husbands, their wives, their mums, their dads, or they're a neighbour, and they don't look upon themselves as carers, and therefore don't ask for the help that they could do if they realised that they were carers and there is help there for them. You get so used to the caring role that it's just your life, it's your whole life, and you don't perhaps think that there could be another life outside of it.
No, I didn't know I was a carer. I just, I was in that position, and that was my life. You know, because, yeah, I didn't know any different. I didn't know I was a carer. I knew I cared.
It makes me want to do, like you see the American preachers. I want to get in the town centre a big post and stand up there and give a good preaching session to other mums and dads that do the same thing I do. Because it's not normal. Caring is not normal.
There's a lack of awareness in society about what it means to be a carer. I think unless you are in a caring role, it's very difficult for somebody outside that to understand what that means. The ongoing, the never-endingness, never-ceasingness of it. And in my experience, people, they're embarrassed. They don't quite know how to deal with it. They don't quite know how to talk to you about it.
We're like the people that people don't talk about. Or people just think, oh, you're making excuses or you're making it up. But you're not. It's really tough. I'm a tough cookie. I have to be. And I am. But even I find it hard.
Our plan is to keep Elizabeth at home for as long as ever we can. We want the care ourselves to help us look after her more. I think she's happier at home, and we would just rather keep our eye on her, quite honestly. You hear about so many things in care homes, don't you?
We've had some bad experiences in one home in particular, but thank goodness that has now gone past us. But it is an experience that we would never like to have again. Olives?
If you want to.
The carers were very rude, they didn't know their jobs properly, the cleanliness, he wasn't really looked after. So these are the things that people with special needs, children or adults, should be aware of. It wasn't our fault, you're keen to have that care provided. You're not to know unless sometimes you get your fingers burnt.
Part of the stress that comes from caring, and I don't think, again, people take this into account, is that it's not that you want to escape from the person you're caring for, it's that you can't do everything all at once. You can't clean the house and do the garden and maintain everything the way you want to and spend the time with the person you're caring for, which is really what I want to do. I mean, I would love to pass on the care for the car. I would love to pass on any DIY, because I don't know how to do these things. I chopped straight through a live cable the other day and could have killed myself.
I went to the Family Plus group, and they helped, they saved my sanity really. I just had to go and listen and learn about boundaries and the consequences. And saying no, which I couldn't say no, I couldn't. And, you know, not to enable them, because it keeps them longer in the place they're in. I don't know where I'd be if I hadn't gone to that group. I really say that. I don't know where I'd be today.
There is nothing in my view, I know we're all different, but there's nothing in my view like face-to-face conversation with someone who can understand and someone who can help you. It isn't just the sort of day-to-day practical working out of things, you know, there are deep emotional hurts there which do need to be addressed and talked through, and feelings of guilt. I know my husband felt very, very guilty. He felt it was all his fault somehow that Lizzie was born as she was, and it took a long time for him to come through that. And I think when one is aware of feelings like this, or that they do exist, then it's a tremendous help to have counselling or whatever. And this is where the support workers come in so very, very helpfully.
Being with people, I think, that you know, that help and care, I think, as well. But I think with carer support, they're, you know, it's a safe place. And you feel safe. And you can go there and just be you for that time.
Parent carer support have been absolutely brilliant. And I actually went and had some reflexology. For half an hour, it was just nice. I nearly fell asleep at 9:30 in the morning. It was lovely.
And I think maybe if some of these groups could really, I wouldn't say forceful, to be forceful with these people, but just try to get to more people. Because there are people out there who, when we meet quite a few people, they just say they didn't know these things existed.
There was an art group I wanted to join the other day, and I wanted to go together with Morris. We enjoy doing things together still. Oh no, we don't have the relatives in. That's the time when the relatives go and do the shopping. So you're constantly told that what you do is you go and do the shopping. You do that on your own for the first time maybe in years. Anybody would think that you needed to do the shopping 5 times a week, because you can't. The things that are provided are very rarely for the two of you together. There's a kind of assumption that you want to be rid of the person you're with. Whereas for me, I would like support to be with the person I'm with.
Last year, I found out about parent carer support. So I got myself signed up, and I had the lovely guy, David Streeter, came out to visit me. A year later, here we are. We have a well-established group in Westbury, because we found, or I found personally, there is no information. You're only told little bits, and then you have to hunt through lots and lots of different websites. And as a full-time carer, you don't have the time to sit and go through the internet, because you have to spend your time wisely.
You pick up a little piece of information here and another little piece there. You hear it by accident because you went to an Alzheimer's cafe. And a lot of the information that people get is picked up in that kind of way.
So I pushed for the group to be opened, and it's running fantastically. The information's being spread because people have different bits, and if they can bring that to the group and share that, because that's the toughest thing.
I used to have lots of information through Young Carers, the charity organisation. As I've gotten older, I felt like that's got less. I don't find that really I have much access to information or anything like that, really. If there were drop-in centres where I could go and talk to someone, that would be nice. anyone who's watching who is a young carer, I'd want them to know that they're not alone. And it's very important to make me time. Like, I think it's a huge and important part of the day, especially right before you go to bed. Because without that, you go to sleep stressing and worrying about everything, 101 things that are completely out of your control. Georgie, come on. I do purposely make time. So I crochet, I play the violin, I do that sort of thing. And that's where I find my time to relax.
We have respite care, which is very, very helpful for us and for her as well, because it takes her away from parents who are getting older by the minute. And she loves her respite care home. That's in Chippenham. And she looks upon that home as her second home, really. We don't always go away when she's in respite. She might go for a weekend sometimes, or 3 or 4 nights in the week. But we always manage to do something. We go and visit someone maybe that it wouldn't be so easy to do if Lizzie were at home, and that sort of thing. And you can really recharge your batteries, you know, which is so necessary to do.
I dread the day that Morris goes to the residential day centre, precisely because I am by myself. I personally am still searching for the person I am. I don't know what I'm capable of on my own. I'm very nervous about being by myself. I can't even persuade myself to go into a coffee shop on my own. I don't want to go to a cinema by myself. It is necessary to have that time, but it still feels to me a very lonely time.
A break away would be absolutely just a weekend but a break with my husband. That's what I would call a break, not going out for a meal, you know, with your best friend, because my husband goes through it as well.
We only have a holiday when he's on a holiday, or if we take him with us. So all these things, it has to be a long-term plan put into place. Everything, you know, to get him to Trowbridge of an evening, to get him to Chippenham, you have to plan either we take him or somebody else takes him. So things always have to be arranged well in advance. You are away, but you're not away.
We haven't had any particular experience with respite services, but I have a friend whose wife is much further advanced than Morris and has much more difficulty. And I had a letter only today just describing a little bit his experience of leaving his wife at a respite home. This time I found it very difficult returning to an empty house and then preparing a meal for one. What a strange double emotion it is. Half of me so pleased to have a restful break, and the other half missing her like crazy. But I think the latter wins. I can't imagine what it would be like if and when it becomes permanent.
There's some cases where he might have been in a home before, and the input that we were putting in didn't seem to be considered, which really used to annoy us, really. Some people might think, well, they're looking after your son or daughter, and they alone know what he or she needs. Well, if you're his parent, you are the main carer. You would know what he or she needs. So I think sometimes they should be able to take that advice on board and put it to good use.
I sit on patient experience group at the local hospital, and I felt that there was a great need to listen more to what the carer was saying, because we're with them 24/7. And it's one thing to have a report in front of you with a lot of results, blood test results or whatever on, but they need to assess the patient clinically as well.
Sometimes the doctors, they do take on to account what you say, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes I feel like they're like, yeah, whatever, kid. And I do like say, well, actually, no, she does have an infection. We know this. She's gone through this quite a few times. But To them, I am just an 18-year-old teenager that thinks she knows everything. You are their primary carer. You do understand a lot about this person, a lot more than anyone else will ever understand.
I feel that because you don't have a PhD in autism, or you've gone to college to learn about it, that I have no rights in explaining my wishes as a carer who lives with it.
Come on then. Walk on. Walk on, walk on. Walk on then. Good boy. Walk on then.
So muddy.
He is.
We bought Harvey a horse with the help of the family fund, who are fantastic. We apply for him every year and it helps us to upkeep his horse. If we have a day up at the stables, there are no issues, no problems. He'll sit and he'll eat dinner. He helps. It's fantastic. You wouldn't know there was anything wrong.
What do we do first, Harvey?
Brush him.
What about here, look? Look.
Oh.
Should we pop that out of the way?
Yeah.
It's been rolling.
Harvey just loves being there. And they play like children should play outdoors. Mucky.
So bay leaves are over here, sweetie. I think the future is very difficult to look into. The decisions you have to make are quite profound. Are we going to need to move house? Do we stay here? Do we go near to the children? These are huge decisions that you would hope to be making together, but we're not.
I mean, I want to go off and I want to have my own dreams and ambitions. I want to be like, I want to go to university and study psychology, that sort of thing. But if that's not possible and if she needs me at home, then I will come home. Like, that's what I'll do. Because I love spending time with my mum and she loves spending time with me, so I hope.
Just look after myself, I think, take care and do things that I just love to have a day with no worries, but that's not possible, so yeah, just to be me, I suppose. I'm learning to be me. I didn't know who I was, but I learned to be me now.
While we are still physically able to do it, we do the best we can as parents/carers. He does have a bit of forward thinking in that regards of what's in place for him to do. Where can he go? What would he like to do? Because the choice is always his.
Hopes for the future. I suppose I don't look far into the future, really. At the minute, I can't bear the thought of not having Lizzie. I can't bear the thought of it. I know that time will come, either before my death or after, I don't know. But I'm not going to worry and cross bridges before I get to them, because you can worry unnecessarily. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to worry about tomorrow. Sufficient to the day is today. Sufficient to the day is the evil thereof. That's what the scripture says, and I believe that.
Good done. There you go.
No, it's messy.
It is. Are you going to sort it out?
Georgie, down. Turn. Good boy.